Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Tanner's Favorite Things. I'm Tanner Knight, and today we have a speaker to repair. What you're looking at is an 8-inch Miller & Chrysler Sound Corporation subwoofer. And this subwoofer had foam surround that was just torn apart. So we had to get a brand new one of these, and today we're going to install this, fix this speaker, and see if we can get this thing sounding good. So I've already gone through the process of removing the old surround, and now what we're left with is a ring that has some residue on it. And we're just going to go ahead and jump right in with some gasoline. This is a tiny little jar of gasoline, and I suggest doing this in a highly ventilated space. I have the windows open, just gas can make you a little nauseous. So we're just going to take a Q-tip and just ride it all along in here and get rid of some of this gunk. So I'm suggesting extreme caution here. You don't want to touch the woofer or any other piece of the speaker with this gasoline. We just want to loosen up this adhesive and get it so we can wipe it off. So I'm just going to put a little gasoline on here. You don't have to use gasoline. Any kind of solvent will work. I just happen to have a tank in my garage, so I went ahead and grabbed it. So let's go ahead and see what applying that will do. So you can see it's getting a little shinier. It's not 100% clean yet, but this is a process that's going to take some time. So I'm just going to go ahead and speed through this and capture the whole process for you. You may be wondering why I have these sticks in here. These are to keep the voice coil kind of elevated in the speaker. We don't want it banging around, so this kind of just stiffens it up and gets it out of the way so we can not worry about that thing coming loose. I think for now, just get those out of here. We're not messing around with the cone at all, so just take those out and keep rolling. Alright, so I've gone one pass around and taken the bulk of the high offending areas out. This is still not good enough to glue up yet, so we're going to have to go around two. Alright, I think that's about as good as we're going to get with just the napkin. I'm going to try to use a corner of a sponge. This has a little more aggressive, abrasive edge on it here, so just going to be very careful not to hit the speaker cone itself. Just get the rim here. Alright, I think that that's probably pretty good. All we need is this rim to be clean on the inner side because there is a foam mount that goes on the outside of this, gets glued on top. So another thing to mention, I don't think I can get this little dust cap dent out. I've tried, but luckily that's just a dust cap. It's not actually contributing to the sound of the speaker. So we're going to go ahead and start gluing up. So this is where my little dowels come in handy. You just want the voice coil raised just a bit, and you'll see why in a second here. So what I'm going to use is this Springfield speaker glue, and this is something I just bought on eBay. Pretty standard little surround kit that comes with the glue and the brush as well as the surround. So we are going to need to glue this right here and then get some glue underneath and glue it down. So let's go ahead and glue the inner ring first. Alright, we're just going to go ahead and paint some of this glue around the inner rim here. Let's get a nice liberal dose. Alrighty, we got a nice little coat of glue there. Gonna try to lie this down as best as possible. So what we're doing is we're elevating the speaker cone as well, so it should give us a little more room to work with. So we want to be very precise about the placement of this cone, because this will determine the placement on the actual rim of the speaker. So luckily this contact looks like it's pretty good. Remove my little dowels now. Alright, so looks like it's not 100% perfect. We got a little more real estate over here than we do over here, but I think that that's going to be plenty enough to give this speaker some flexibility and allow it to seal off when we have it installed in the enclosure. So that's all that I can do at this point. This requires 24 hours to cure, so we're going to have to let that happen and come back to this tomorrow and adhese the outer edge to the rim. But then we should wait another 24 hours for curing and be able to hear how this thing sounds. So let's go ahead and leave it at that for now. We'll pick up tomorrow and see if we can finish this thing off. Alright everybody, it's been a day. Looks like our seal has sealed up. Now what we want to do is elevate the whole speaker cone assembly and get some glue under the rim and drop it down as quickly and easily as possible. And what we have hooked up here is a cell phone. And you may be wondering, why would I need a cell phone hooked up to this speaker? Well, we're actually going to put a very faint, low signal through this speaker while we're doing this glue up, and that will keep the cone free of any impedance on either side of the actual speaker coil. So, in order to do that, we're going to raise the speaker up by placing these dowels in here. Just want to raise that speaker cone up just so you can get a little bead of glue in here. We're going to be using the same exact glue as we did for the regular cone, the inner side of the cone, but we're just going to shake this up once more and use the applicator here to dispense the glue. So hopefully we have enough to go ahead and just go ahead and do that. And I don't know if you can tell, but this foam is not touching the rim at all right now, but just in case it does, I'm going to open up our PA tone emulator here, and I'm just going to go ahead and turn the sound on. You won't be able to hear anything, and just for kicks, just to show you, we do have sound coming through here, but we just want to set this to a 50 hertz sine wave, which it is. And the sound is currently on. You can't hear it, but if we were to move this, you can hear a little bit of vibration. So I don't generally like to do that, but right now this thing is free and clear, so we're just going to go ahead and keep applying some glue while this tone is going. This is a little easier to do on a turntable if you have one. I don't. I just want to get nice amount of glue in here so that it covers all of the rim. Make sure that these don't drop down. Alright, so now if we take our dowels out, it should just drop straight down. And we can adhese that outer foam surface to the outer rim of the speaker. Alright, so we've got sound coming through the speaker. It doesn't sound like there's any clanging going on from the voice coil hitting the side of the magnet. So we should be pretty good. Now, it looks like it's got quite a bit of buoyancy. What we need to do now is let this thing cure overnight, and then we will be able to put it into our subwoofer and see what it sounds like. So, another 24-hour wait, And we should have the rest of this. Luckily for you, it'll just take a second. But let's go ahead and wrap this up. All right, folks, here we are 1 day later, and I have the Miller & Kreisel subwoofer with the 2 satellite speakers that came with the set. So I guess this counts as a full reveal on the whole item. This is also one of the items that I thrifted recently, but I needed a little bit of repair on it, so I didn't want to reveal it with the Onkyo receiver and Mirage speakers. But I went ahead and put the surround on this speaker. I just glued it on top of the rim. So this was added on top. This is the original surround. And now we're going to install this speaker and go ahead and hook it up. All right, so we've got our speaker hooked up. Let's go ahead and mount it. We have these 4 screws that have threaded inserts, so this thing sits in here nicely. And while we have this open, we can take a look at the construction. Looks like we have, I don't know, maybe 3/4 inch MDF, has a little rim routed out here. This is just filler to dampen the bass response here. That's pretty common in subwoofers. The amplifier is a plate amplifier on the back. Let's see if we can get a little shot of that without messing things up here. This is the amplifier, and you can see that we have from the amp to the speakers, got a fuse, a bass level, and a preamp in here. So plate amplifier that is installed on the back of the sub. Let's go ahead and plug this in, hear how she sounds. I forgot my Allen wrench, so let me go grab that real quick. Alright, so this required a size 3 Allen wrench, if you were wondering. Pretty standard size, in the metric sizing that is. Let's go ahead, pop our cover back on. Alright, so we've got this subwoofer hooked up, the satellite speakers on top of these 2 speakers, which are in channels 1 and 2. So just a full rundown, channels 1 and 2. Channels 3 and 4 are being fed into the subwoofer, which has its very own outs, which go to these. So these are really channel 3 and 4 plus a subwoofer. Typically this subwoofer would be on the ground or somewhere on the floor, but just so I can get everything in the shot here, I raised it up a little bit. And I took the cover off just so you can see the subwoofer working. And I just have a royalty-free track here that we're going to use as a sound sample. So let's go ahead and take a listen. Alright, so what are my final thoughts on this project? A rousing success. This is just a small little subwoofer, but I don't have that big of a room that I'm going to be filling with sound. I'm going to pair this subwoofer and these satellite speakers with my entertainment system. So these are going to be the channel 3 and 4 in subwoofer for the TV and the Blu-ray player, etc. But since we're talking about thrifting, I paid $7 for this entire set, this subwoofer and these 2 satellite speakers. Keep in mind that this surround was pretty much destructed, so it was not usable in its current state. I had to replace this foam surround. As you saw, it was really no big deal whatsoever. The hardest part is just removing the old material. But if you can do that, you should be good to go. So I know this video is kind of multi-purpose, but I really wanted to show you, number 1, that I was repairing this speaker, number 2, that this was a thrift find, and that you can find items very similar to this in your local thrift store in a lot of cases. And of course, we wanted to make sure that it worked and it sounded great, which, good news, it does. So the next step is to just set all this stuff up in its actual living spot where it's going to be for the rest of its life, and well, rest of its life with me, and then we should be all set up. So thanks again for watching this episode of Tanner's Favorite Things. If you like this content, feel free to like and subscribe. That always helps. Thanks, and I'll see you on the next one.